This is Create the Next from ProCFO Partners, where every week we explore strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help today's businesses put their financial picture in context.
Welcome back to Create the Next. I'm Chris Bentliff, and I'm very excited to join Managing Director of ProCFO Partners, Brian Raphael. And Brian, we're talking today about private equity. And one of the questions I have for you right away is, what are some of the unique differences between small and mid-market private equity outfits than the enterprise, the larger scale? What are some things that they're facing uniquely? Because I know that where their financial functions are concerned, you've got some specific insights on that. But help me understand the difference.
Sure, I'm happy to. First, I'm also equally as excited to be here with Chris Bentliff, the expert podcaster here. So it's really an honor to be here. So thank you for having me. So I'm glad you asked that. I think the main difference is lower mid-market focused PE firms. These are firms that focus on buying companies that are revenue, I'd say between 20 to 80 million annual revenue. Oftentimes they have finance functions ranging anywhere from 3 to 10 people. They're usually quite kind of immature, for lack of a better word, finance functions. There's usually no actual FP&A person there. There's kind of a loose grouping of people that have kind of some legacy employees, sometimes a legacy CFO. And I think the challenge is, so the PE firm post-close, this company has just been through the ringer. This relatively small company has just been through the ringer of due diligence. The finance function is kind of stretched to its limits. It's probably been stretched beyond its limits during due diligence. And post-close, there's a lot more work to be done, right? So these are, again, kind of small finance functions that really need help in terms of getting up to speed, in terms of providing what the PE sponsor requires, which is accurate monthly reporting, quick monthly reporting, a budget that makes sense and is logical and has some substantiation to it, not just made up, a budget that builds in accountability by department, by quarter, by month, and quarterly and monthly reporting that is meaningful, not just kind of a P&L and a balance sheet. So, once the deal is closed, kind of stage 2 of the work of the finance function within that portfolio company is underway. And I think, oftentimes it needs a lot of help to get there. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I mean, there's a lot to unpack. So backing up into sort of this idea of immaturity, and maybe there's, as few as 3 people. And we've talked about this so much in other episodes, just kind of an incomplete perspective on what meaningful financial reporting is. What is some back up as you're starting to get, before you get into the ringer, please do these things first. Like what am I constantly bumping into, or I'm surprised when I'm in these small, companies and I'm one of these 3 to 6 to 10 people. Geez, I wish we would have had this. I was surprised that they needed that. What am I missing that could make my life a lot easier before I get to that post-close kind of state?
Right. I would say there are 2 major items that need a lot of work directly post-close. One is the monthly close. So every month, the books need to be closed. They need to be closed GAAP compliant. So and they need to be closed within a timely manner. They can't take a month to close the books. They need to take usually somewhere between 8 and maybe 12 days to close the books. And it needs to be completely right from an accrual accounting perspective. That's usually the first order of business. Let's get the monthly close tightened up, meaning quicker, and let's get it more accurate, because usually there are some intricacies. Every company has its own intricacies, and usually there are some things that require a little extra attention from an accounting perspective, but they can be quite material. Things like deferred revenue, any kind of revenue recognition, things like that, how we capitalize things, whether it's software or machinery or anything, oftentimes need to be cleaned up and formalized. So we build the framework so that the monthly close can be repeatable on a strict timeline every month. I would say the number 2 thing is tightening up some operational loopholes. I mean, any lower mid-market company, we'll call it, will not have a perfectly well-oiled machine in terms of finance operations. That means like order to cash, how quickly we receive money from our invoices, how quickly we pay our vendors, how often we miss a payment to a vendor. It won't ever be perfect, but we want to make sure that we're catching major loopholes, that if it is a renewal business, we are sending out renewal invoices, that if it is, that our pricing is looked at maybe every 1, 2, or 3 years to make sure it's staying up to date, that if it's a professional service company, that the rate card makes sense. You want to make sure that these big loopholes Make sure we're getting paid on time, or if not on time, pretty close to on time. Making sure that there's a process to follow up with accounts receivable, accounts payable, to capture the big outstanding kind of low-hanging fruit that could really affect the operations and cash flow of the company. So I guess those are the two main areas that usually require immediate attention.
Why am I struggling with that? Why is
Probably
it?
because I worded it poorly.
No.
I'm guessing.
You worded it really well. I mean, why in my company? Why am I struggling to get that right? Is it because I lack experience or depth in the people that should be knowing this stuff? Is it because I've outgrown some of those people and I just haven't been able to keep pace? What are some of the sort of key reasons why I stub my toe on this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think you put your finger on the top too. So I mean, I think you figured it out pretty correctly and quickly. One is, you oftentimes do have a finance function that includes people that maybe the company has outgrown. People who have been there from the beginning, loyal to the company, great people, but maybe just not part of, we're great when the company was 3 or 4 or 5 million revenue, and maybe don't really make sense at 30 and 40. So oftentimes you need to look at the finance function and evaluate it a little bit from 10,000 feet and say, do we have the right people doing the right things? And secondly, it's just lack of expertise. So oftentimes, if you're running a $20 million, $30 million revenue company, you're not going to get to hire the CFO who has 25 years of industry expertise, and pay him $500,000 a year. You just won't, right? So, one of the, our goal at ProCFO is to help these companies. They don't have that level of expertise. We can help them. We do help them evaluate their finance function. What have you got? What do we need to kind of improve? And as is appropriate for the size company, we're not looking to build a completely bulletproof finance function in every single company, but you want to build what's appropriate for that size company. And you want to be able to give them access to expertise and best practices that oftentimes they just don't have. And they don't even know that they're out there, but they're usually readily available. And if we can kind of match up the right CFO to the right portfolio company, one who has 20 years of experience in whatever the industry may be, manufacturing, software, skincare, anything almost we cover, all of a sudden there's all these best practices and all this expertise is kind of illuminated. And the company could take advantage of a lot of things that just didn't realize were readily available to help them out and kind of accelerate their finance function kind of light years above and beyond where they are now.
Yeah. And as you're sharing that as a business leader, I feel like a huge weight would be taken off my shoulders, or it's a huge relief valve, because now moving into that conversation of post-close, if I had any sort of friction getting into it with this small team of people, as you point out, it certainly isn't going to be a smoother path now with the sophistication that comes on the other side of that. And when you can bring in diverse expert perspectives, experiences, tenure, industry verticals that can help shape some of that, it's the old adage, what got me here isn't going to get me there. So help me to understand now a little bit, what is that going to mean for the dynamics of my company? So now I'm post-close, got new issues that you've illuminated, and I've got new things to think about. I guess I would be concerned that, wow, this is, I just bit off way more than I can chew, or I'm in big trouble, or my 5-year plan just got blown up because Brian's already pointed out things that I don't even have my fingers on. I don't know, put my mind at ease. How can ProCFO integrate, but also how can my people or my team, I don't know, just get more invigorated or energized around doing the right things regularly, predictably, post-close and into the future?
Yeah. So, I mean, we are the salve in this situation. So post-close, we just closed. The PE firm is probably a little at loose ends with the portfolio company's finance function. There have been a lot of demands and due diligence and probably delayed responses and incomplete responses. The portfolio company is sick of this PE firm. The finance function within the portfolio company is maybe a little sick of the PE firm, constant requests and demands for information today and yesterday. And we are really the salve. So we go in, we are the neutral third party. We are there to help the PE firm get what they need every month and every quarter and every year. Okay. We're also there on the ground at the portfolio company, or in this day and age, maybe remotely, but we are embedded in the portfolio company to help them do what they need to do to sort of, for lack of a better phrase, get PE off their back. So let's build in this monthly close. That is, we have a framework for doing it. We've done it a lot. At ProCFO, we know how to do it. We can implement a framework that is sustainable and repeatable and all those things. And it helps everybody. That by the time we leave an engagement, the portfolio company is sad to see us go, even if maybe when we walk through the doors, they're not totally happy to see us. But by the time we leave, they are always sad to see us go. And we've always forged a great relationship with the PE firm. It's like, wow, this is a great weight off of our shoulder. We've had this due diligence process, which has been a little tenuous and tough. And you've really kind of, solved a lot of problems in a short amount of time. I mean, when we go in, we don't go in as a forever solution. We go in as an interim solution to kind of get this portfolio company up to speed, give them what they need to go forward. And we do offer, if there is a need to hire a new CFO or just a first CFO, we can certainly help with that in terms of placement. And if they need ongoing support on a part-time basis, that is what we do. But we are not there to be a forever resource. We're there to build the foundation within the portfolio company, to let them do it themselves. And it really is, I'm telling you, by the time we're done with an engagement, we are the neutral party in this sometimes difficult relationship between a PE, firm and its portfolio company. And it's always kind of a nice ending.
What a powerful, testimonial, that the PE company is always sad to see us go. And
the portfolio company
showed up, but they're sad to see us go. It sounds like that's a pretty powerful combination. And Brian, just in the sharing that you've done with us this morning, it's clear not just the expertise, but the energy and the enthusiasm. And so if we go all the way back to, look, maybe you've outgrown, or maybe you've got a small team who might just be in over their heads or dreading this, or as you point out, then on the other side, it's been tenuous. You've kind of been through the ringer. You just want to surround yourself with people who thrive in those environments and who look forward to those environments. And you've got such a breadth and depth of experience that there's no intimidation. There's only opportunity. And you've really helped us explore that this morning. And I think we've learned a lot, and I think we've only scratched the surface. So I hope that you'll come back and dive deeper into maybe some of the minutiae and the nitty gritty of some of that stuff that we need to get through in these circumstances. Thanks for...
I'd love to. Yeah, let's do the masterclass, the 4-hour masterclass on.
It's awesome. It's condensed into. I say this to every business leader I meet. You guys, you have to listen to this. It's the best 20 minutes you're going to spend all day, all year, is just this one podcast, because it's just so laser focused. And it's been great to meet you and to get to know this part of how you think and operate. And obviously, we've said this 1,000 times. You don't need to know all the troubles you're experiencing or the pain points you're having to just know that you've got a pain point, and Brian can help you figure out. ProCFO Partners can help you figure out. Any of the number of Pro CFOs can help you figure out what needs to happen. You don't necessarily need to have the diagnosis to know the prescription. We can help with all those things.
I love it. You have a future at ProCFO Partners should you ever want to change careers. I think you figured this stuff out really quickly. I had a great time today.
Finance, that's never happened in the history of the universe.
Okay. Well, I had a great time today. Thank you.
Dude, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. Visit ProCFOPartners.com for more strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help you put your business's financial picture in context.